Welcome to our healthcare panel. Tonight, we have 4 panelists that I'd like to introduce to all of you. We have Angela Brown from Cassia. We have Rob Brock from Boston Scientific. We have Anila Idani from Habit Aware, and we've got Christy Moline from Bethel University. My name is Molly Wickham, and I'm going to be your moderator tonight. And we've got Judy Jones, who is here today as well, providing technical support.
I think, again, it's reinforcing the themes that we've talked about. I really feel like God has gifted and wired people, a certain way. Certainly we can grow and learn, but I think it's about, figuring out how God created you and then how to invest those gifts and skills and talents and be good stewards of them, not bury them, but how do I really leverage how he made me to impact people and impact society? So I think it's about, really leveraging those skills. So I think God led me to a position that really challenges me professionally. I think going back to StrengthsFinder, one of my other strengths is individualization. And so I'm really going, okay, I get where that person's coming from. I get where that person's coming from. So as I look at a leadership team and maybe a direct care employee, I can see both sides. And so how do I help staff understand where their supervisors might be coming from? How do I help supervisors understand why their employees might be responding or doing what they might be doing and why? So I think, just figuring that out, and God really has been gracious to lead me to a profession where I can use those things that challenges me professionally. But I've had the extra blessing of being able to do that in an environment that is faith-based. So our organization is just rooted in his word and in glorifying God, but it's also filled with non-Christians. So it's the best of both worlds. It is a mission field in and of itself. One of our bylines for our organization is serving all by following one, because we certainly want to be inclusive and respectful of all people, regardless of where they come from. So it's been exciting to be able to develop that both personally, faith-based wise, and professionally.
Thank you. I love that. Serving all while following one. I love that. Rob?
There are a lot of things I wanted to say about this, but I think I'm going to bring it back to just one thing on a very personal level. I had talked about the importance of teamwork earlier, but I think we all know personally that sometimes we can have a bad day. We can, have a bad traffic on the way to work, or we can, have a flat tire. The morning just doesn't go well. Things are just not going well, and we're sitting in a meeting and we're supposed to be focusing, and it can be challenging. And sometimes that affects our ability to what we can do at work. And I think we all know that personally, but I also am aware that that is true for every one of my coworkers. And so one of the things that I've actually developed and do regularly is actually the habit of praying for some of my coworkers, particularly if I need them to interact well with me. So for instance, our vice president of marketing, I'll pray for Dylan sometimes because I'm about to pitch an idea to Dylan, and I'm hoping he's having a good day and is in a place to receive my ideas really well, as opposed to extremely critically. And so I just pray for the success of my coworkers and the organization, partly, for my own benefit, but for theirs and for the whole organization. And so it's just finding ways. And then I pray also for myself. If I'm working on a presentation, I'm about to give a presentation, I'm working through a problem that's hard, I pray about that. And so it's just throughout the day, just kind of, and especially the one thing I miss about working from home is the drive times in the morning, because I would often just turn off the radio and music, and I would just pray about my day ahead. This is what's coming up. God, just, pave the way, set the stage for this. Let this be received well, help them understand what I'm communicating, help me to communicate clearly. And so just that on a daily basis of praying that God would help me to do my job well and help it to be received well by others, and that God would bless them as well. So that just on a very personal level.
Thank you. It's wonderful. Anila?
Yeah, so I'll preface this by saying that I am not a religious person, but I am a spiritual person. So I don't assign myself to a particular group, if you will. I kind of take from all over. But I believe in a higher power, and I believe that everything happens for a reason. And I, very much so that we are, that we have to keep the faith. That when things are not going right, that it's there for a reason. It's there to when I talk to students about starting habit aware, the title of the deck is "Your Pain is Your Purpose," where I have taken a lot of pain, not just from hair pulling, but from really what the root of the hair pulling was, which was my father. Well, one of the things was my father falling sick with cancer and dying 4 years later. And if not for that pain, I would not have turned to hair pulling. And if I didn't turn to hair pulling, then 20 plus years later, I wouldn't have invented a device to help people with hair pulling. And if not for my dad dying, or rather, if not for my dad getting sick, he never would have met a doctor who had a daughter that was my age, who became my best friend, who then 10 years later introduced me to Samir, who is my husband and now our CEO. So all these little things, Christy kind of mentioned earlier, this full circleness of you start somewhere and then you wind up somewhere else, but then somehow you're still back, and you have to kind of just trust that process and keep the faith. And like Rob was saying, pray every day for goodness in not just your life, but in the lives of everyone around you and those that you serve.
Thank you. Christy, what would you like to say?
Yeah, I think that this is an interesting one, having worked in traditional secular settings and as a Christian myself, the values of my faith are really in people, right? We value people as created by God, and as such, that, especially in healthcare, that is a real tangible correlation between our faith and how we execute our work, right? So I guess that is that's what I'd say, is it comes out in how you treat others and how you treat particularly your patients and your constituents, and how you treat your coworkers, how you handle difficult situations. I will tell you that this year has been trying for me, even in an organization where we all have the same faith foundation. It is not, I can't always love everybody, right? But we're called to do that. And I feel like, again, bringing it back to the broader industry, healthcare is an industry across the entire ecosystem where your faith can be lived in real time, because the purpose is to care for others. So short and sweet, Molly.